I'm getting rid of my Cricut. That's only the second time that I've actually boldly said that I was going to do that. But this time I actually mean it. That's because I have xTool's brand new M1 Ultra, and ever since I set it up, I haven't been able to stop using it. In fact, I loved it so much that as soon as I got the rotary portion set up, I used it to complete a 100 bottle boot order. That was part of a larger order that I did for Starlight Children's Foundation, which also included water bottles and hats. So around this time last year, xTool did send me the first version of the M1 in the 5-watt variety. I'll leave a card up here and a link down below to the video of the original review so you have a frame of reference. Now that first one was pretty much their first journey into doing something that could work for both laser and your DIY crafters. It was meant to be the love child between a laser and a Cricut. And for first attempt, not a bad machine. Still really loved it. But something just didn't feel 100% about it. And that's from me coming from like the perspective of having a ginormous 100-watt CO2 laser. Oh yeah, and the S1. I played around with this M1 Ultra for about a week before filming this. And after a week of glorious bottle boot making, okay, and stickers, that's a different story, I basically had the confidence enough to give my sister my old Cricut Maker 3. I realized that xTool's iterated on this machine so quickly in taking feedback over just the past year alone that the machine is greatly improved over the first version. First off, it starts at a 10-watt laser, not a 5-watt. Second, everything's already pre-calibrated and ready to go. I didn't have to do anything to this machine to get it working day one. That's actually an improvement over the S1 because the S1 I had to actually calibrate the crosshair. In fact, if you try to do that same calibration on the M1 Ultra now, it'll warn you in their application because it's pre-configured. Overall, it just felt easier to use. So let's go over that module system. It has a ton of features and additional little modules that you can get to add onto the machine to do all the different things that you want it to do. So it's not just laser cutting and then also blade cutting. You can emboss, deboss, whatever they want to call it, foiling. You can use fancy markers and write crap. You can do rotary with the laser and all the pew pew. And it's got an inkjet printer. Like literally, it's got a little module with inkjet stuff. So you can immediately print and then cut, which leads into the sticker thing, because I kind of went down a rabbit hole of sticker making. Now, for those of us among us who have one of the S1s, you might be wondering how hard it is to change out the modules. It's so much easier with the M1 Ultra. They provide a little lever, so all you have to do is pull the lever back, remove the module, and put the new module in. The only module that actually has to plug in physically somewhere is the inkjet. And that's just a tiny cable that you have to snap in place. It doesn't have all like the weird pins or anything. You don't have to feel like you're gonna be stripping cables or anything like that. Just pop that lever, take out the old unit and put the new one in, and then close the lever to keep it in place. Anyway, enough yapping at the camera here. Let's yap at the camera over there that I've already set up so we can take a deeper look at the machine. Now I have this set up for rotary mode, and that was basically because I was again working on 100 silicone bottle boots for these 20-ounce water bottles. Not this one, this is my junker water bottle, obviously. In order to take advantage of the RA2 Pro rotary unit for the xTool, I basically had to put on the riser base. Unless it's really small, you're not going to be able to really do anything with the rotary unless you have the riser base. The two are basically hand in hand. There's safety all over this thing, so don't even think that for a second you can just take the base plate out and put it up on stilts. 1, not safe. 2, wouldn't be fully enclosed at that point, would it? It will say though that the riser base is pretty cool. You can hear the safety beep from the limit switches. You can open up the front here, and basically all you have to do is slide out the honeycomb tray and then slide it into different positions that are already configured within the riser base. Now I have it on the lowest possible position with the honeycomb tray. But if I needed to go even lower for like a thicker bottle, maybe I wanted to do a 32-ounce bottle, then I could go even lower by basically just removing the honeycomb tray altogether. But again, it just slides in place like that. It's pretty cool. So when I'm doing batches of the bottle boots, for example, I didn't have to move any of this. I didn't have to move any of it when my 13-year-old said, "Hey mom, can we make some new stickers?" Which is not typically something I can do with my other machines because they basically are stuck in one mode or another. The thing I really like about this is I can just unplug the rotary and leave it where it's at. Then I can take the base plate and put it back in. So I just take this and I slide it right in the area where it came from. Ta-da! And now it's basically in a mode where you could do some flat engravings, like smaller engravings, or go right into print, cut, marker, foiling, debossing modes. Am I laying it on too thick? Because really, it's just like it does everything. Anyway, we can close that back up and it's safe again. When the machine isn't actively working on a job, it's not locked down. So if you need to, you can actually move the unit in the XY positions to be able to basically put it where it needs to go. So accurate placement, naturally. I'm just gonna slide this up a little bit more so that I can point at the fan. So this right here is gonna be what you would consider your exhaust fan. Now in the test that I did with engraving on basswood and then engraving basically the silicone bottle boots for a week, I didn't really run into any issues with smell or backdraft or smoke buildup. It did a really good job basically at level 3 of sucking all of the bad stuff out and shooting it down the side of my house toward my neighbor that I don't like. I'm kidding. Disclaimer, so in case my HOA watches, I didn't shoot noxious fumes at my neighbor, okay? Leave me alone. Now, I don't have air assist with this, and I wasn't planning on doing a ton of cutting with it anyway, but I think if I had gotten like the 20-watt version, I probably would want air assist. That's just an extra add-on, and it's really not all that expensive. And if you're going to be doing cutting with a laser, you really want the air assist. But again, for me, with the 10-watt unit and also owning a couple of other lasers that are 20 watt or higher, didn't really feel the need. Also, you don't have to get the riser base unless you want to use the rotary or engrave taller objects. I want to cover the rotary, but I think I'm going to dedicate an entire video to that because using rotaries with the xTools, so much easier. The only downside to the wee fan here is the filters. Granted, I was using this as a workhorse to pump out a 100 object order. That's not what I would consider typical use for like your average person. But if you run a business, you're probably going to end up taking orders like that at some point. So it came with like a 6-pack of these little fluffy polyester batting cakes, and that's your filter. It basically protects the fan and all the electronics that are in there because it's actually a box that clicks in and has limit switches for safety. Again, it's all about the whole like enclosed thing. Not truly enclosed if you remove a part of it that exposes it to the environment. Anyway, I went through the whole batch of 6 that came with the machine. But it's just quilting batting. So let's take a deep dive into the laser module. You can choose between a 10-watt or 20-watt module. I've been testing with the 10-watt, which is all around a good bit of power for a beginner. If you're looking to do tumbler engraving or cutting 3mm or thicker materials, you probably want to consider the 20-watt version. The good thing is that since they're modules, you can start with the 10-watt and upgrade to the 20-watt later. I mentioned earlier that I mostly use the laser module on a big bottle boot order. I wasn't kidding when I said that I was able to get consistent clean results with just the 10-watt module. 100 bottle boots engraved with no errors from the comfort of my air-conditioned office. Brilliant! Now I'm a touch of an idiot because I completely forgot to take a photo or even some video of the final product, but I do have this test silicone boot here. It's a 2-tone silicone boot that I purchased from JDS Industries. That's where I source a lot of my blinks. You can see how clean that looks. Now, if I had done this on my big CO2 laser downstairs, sure, it would have been faster, but there would have been a lot more cleanup because I have a 100-watt laser. And if you're not aware, the higher the wattage, the larger the precision dot is that the laser puts out, which means that the lower the wattage, the cleaner the engraving. And let me tell you, when I figured out that I could do the bottle boots up here on this instead of going into my garage and sweating in 100-degree weather, I was in like Flynn. I basically abused the laser module and the silicone boots, but as you can see, the engraving on this sample basswood board was the catalyst for doing that wholesale order. Clean edges and a nice deep dark engraving. I've already got the inkjet module in here, so let's make some stickers. This is the actual speed of the inkjet module. I set it to print at the highest quality. As you can see, it's pretty slow, but the benefit to this module is that I can print not just to paper, but also to woods. Then I can immediately turn around and cut it out without needing to line anything up and hope I got it right. Cool, so now I'm going to go ahead and take them out. I want you to see the quality that we have going on here so you can understand maybe why I'm not so fond of the inkjet module. As you can tell, even though I told it to print with like 100% highest possible quality, it doesn't exactly look all that awesome. Now, it might be that I need to basically run the inkjet module a little bit for some tests just to kind of get things running. You know, fountain pen kind of thing, like maybe there's a clog. But the other thing I would say is that the inkjet modules themselves, like the little ink cartridges, are pretty small. And right now, they're about 20 bucks a piece. But that's pretty much my only criticism. In fact, I'm going to take this little guy out of here so I can show you just how small it is. Look at this. It's so wee. Look at that little itty bitty thing. So my concern, purely as an entrepreneur of the small business variety, would be getting heavily into this and then finding that I basically need to replace these constantly. And when there's options for tank-based inkjet printers these days, not sure this is it. But again, you can print to wood, which isn't something you do with a standard inkjet printer. All right, let's put this one up and take a look at the rotary blade. Now with the introduction of the rotary blade, that makes things much more interesting for those of us who like bag making. The rotary blade on this machine does not do the weird Cricut thing. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Imagine, if you will, I am a rotary blade on a Cricut. Just go with me here. Let's say I need to go around a round corner for a zipper overlay. What do I, as a Cricut rotary blade, do? Zzz, bzz, bzz, bzz. Kind of annoying, isn't it? Especially when you pick it up off of the mat and you see a bunch of like really weird markings and you're like, great, I can't use that, that's now trash. But I also can't use a laser because it has PVC in it and I don't want to die. When it comes to the rotary blade, the cutting blade, and the debossing, embossing tool, you need to use the carriage module. With the rotary blade, I can cleanly and quickly cut out thick fabrics like marine vinyl. This is the actual speed, which I've set to be 45 millimeters per second. The pressure on the blade is configured to be 2200. The reason this rotary tool stands out above your average craft cutter is that it'll actually cleanly scoot around tight curved corners, not lift and drop to chip away at them. Those of us in bag making understand the importance of being able to make clean cuts for stuff like this zipper overlay. And I could probably cut these a lot faster if I wanted to. I just decided to do 40 so it doesn't go wee around a curved corner. Although now I kind of want to test it and see how fast I can make it go. In general though, I think I could probably cut out about 8 of these at a time, which isn't that bad considering it's 12 inches by 12 inches of space. Now let's take a quick look at the pen mode. The pen writing features are also pretty neat. You can do simple line drawing or fills. For those who deal in making custom greeting cards, this plus foiling would be a lot of fun. I don't really have a comparison point for these two features versus other craft machines, as I've by and large used machines like that for cutting fabrics and heat transfer vinyls. So that covers most of the new features at a high level. I really like the M1 Ultra. I would not have set it up in my room in pretty much a semi-permanent location if I didn't. Also, within the first week of having it, I basically live streamed on Twitch using it for the bottle boots. If me using it for a 100 bottle boot order for a customer isn't convincing enough, I don't know what is. The only thing that I deeply yearn for is now the 20-watt laser head. So, xTool, if you're watching this, could you, like, send me the 20-watt? Because then it would basically be a tumbler machine. Like, literally. So here's what I want to do, because I don't really want to ramble on for like 30 minutes about this machine. I want to chop things up into digestible bits of information. So for this video, it's going to be high level. But in subsequent videos, I want to go over the Rotary tool, take a deep dive into cutting and doing stickers, direct applications to bag making, and a primer on engraving woods. Feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want some updates on any subsequent videos that I do, not just on the M1 Ultra, but also on the S1. Or heck, just for my personality, which I oddly didn't get installed until my 40s. Let me know if you have any questions on the M1 Ultra, or if you want me to test something for you. There are a lot of things I could have done in the video, but didn't, because nobody likes to hear me ramble for 20-30 minutes. Except myself. That's a different problem. I should probably talk to my shrink about that. Anyway, thank you so much. Until next time.